the National Endowment for the Humanities, bringing you the stories that define us.
Thank you for coming. Please state.
Thank you, Jessica.
Please state your name, your date of birth, and where you were born.
Well, my name's Eloisa, as everybody that I grew up with called me Locha. But I'm Maese from my father's side, and Levario since I got married. And I was born in San Elisario. In 1941, June 30th, 1941.
And how do you ethnically, racially identify as?
I'm sorry?
How do you ethnically identify as?
Okay. Number one, I have hearing aids.
Ah, okay. I'll get closer.
That's one more thing.
Okay.
What do I identify with? Well, I have my DNA here.
Wow.
It seems like I'm 34% Spanish,
Okay.
24% Portuguese, and 31 something Native American.
Okay. And here you are.
And here I am. So I don't know, how would you classify that?
Would your parents consider themselves like Mexican?
Mexican American. Not really
Mexican-American?
Mexican. We're, I consider myself Texan.
Tejana?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because ever since I had been being raised, I was on the Texican, on this side of the border. I never was on the other side of the border.
Right, right.
Nor my parents.
So you generations here.
Through generations, yeah, or my grandparents.
Yeah.
But then, at that time, it was not considered to be it was just a river.
Right, right. It was so fluid, people can just cross back and forth. Yeah. So then, speaking of your grandparents, were they the first ones here in San Elisario, or?
They were a pioneer family, yes,
Okay.
From my mother's side, yes. Yes. And from my father's standpoint, I really don't know. He really didn't talk much about that. And my grandfather looks very Spanish.
Like green eyes, maybe?
Stature, tall, kind of fair-skinned, very, very fair-skinned.
Right, right. And so...
But he married, I don't know if she was Native American.
Okay.
According to my DNA, there is some Native American there.
Yeah.
And I have pictures. I brought pictures.
Wow. Yeah, I'd be happy to look at them.
And she looks Native American.
Yeah, like indigenous.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So your
but dressed in clothes that other people wore.
Right, right. Yeah. That has a lot to do with the area, the pioneers that came and dressed them. Yeah.
And then as far as from my father's side, my mother's side, I don't know. They're more, I think that's where the Portuguese comes from.
Okay. So you think your mother's side, you were more like European?
I don't know if you call it Europe. I guess Portuguese.
Yeah.
His name was Tejas, but then he spelled it with a. They said it was spelled with an S. It was Portuguese. If it's spelled with a Z, it's something else. So I don't know. Or vice versa. I don't know.
Yeah. So was your grandpa the first one that came? Was he?
No, there was a great. His dad.
Oh, his dad came to San Elisario?
Pedro.
Pedro.
From my mother's side. There was a Pedro. Pedro Tejas.
And then that's where the generation started living here. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about your childhood here then. How was it growing up in San Elizario? Did you have any siblings?
I have 7 brothers, 7 sisters. Well, 7 brothers and sisters altogether.
Okay.
3 brothers, and there's 4 of us, 4 sisters. One of my little brothers passed away when he was very young. So that would have been 8, but he passed away. So
Sorry.
but 3 months old.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, how did we seem to have a lot of fun
Yeah.
as
Like, what
we were
would you
getting
do?
older.
Yeah.
And in those days, we lived in. Well, it started. They just came one at a time, so it was like you start a family. I was the firstborn, then my sister, Tere, and then my brother, Tony, and then my other sister, Rosalina. She became a teacher. Then it was Ines, and then there's Henry and Ricky, Los Cuates, because they were very close together. And they still live here.
In San Eli?
They still live in San Eli.
Wow.
My 3 brothers live in San Eli.
They stay here, yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
And they got married and they've settled in San Eli, all 3 of them. And we, the girls, we just kind of ventured out. Yeah.
Right. It's about, I think it comes with being a woman. You want to
Get away from the family.
be
maybe,
more
I don't know.
independent. Yeah.
I was one that, being the oldest, I was taking care of a lot of my siblings.
Yeah, I'm the oldest
Because
too.
my mother was always busy with the
Yeah.
farm.
Okay.
Because we ate from the farm.
Mm.
So my dad will have cows and he would milk them, and then my mother would take care of making asaderos, the cheese and all that. So we had plenty to eat.
Right.
And then when the crop came in, again, it was busy with crops, picking up alfalfa bales and.
So you helped with
and
that.
then my little brothers were born, or my little sisters, and they're gonna hate me for this, but I always bring it up to them, make them. I would be washing their diapers.
Yeah.
That was my duty, as a very young girl. So it was not like. It's in my stories. My bringing up how I was brought up, taking care of a lot of my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But then that kind of filled me up that I wanted to do something else. But I never went. I went to college, but as a married person. When I got married, then I went to get some college courses in.
Yeah.
But as a young girl, I didn't even pursue it. I was too busy.
Working.
And then having parties and going to dancing and
Yeah. Being
as a
young.
girl. Being young on my free time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you, while you were helping out with your family, raising your siblings, did you go to school also?
Oh,
Did you
yes.
hear? Okay.
Oh, yes. I went to school with Martha. I've lost track of all the people I went to school with. Delphina, she passed away. Margie, she's somewhere. I remember my teachers. Miss Pañawe, Miss Lopez, Mrs. Duck. Mrs. Duck was my mother's teacher as well.
Oh wow. So she had been there for a while
So
too.
she had been a while. Miss Hill, and then Mr. and Mrs. Tonnell, Miss Laurie, and Miss. She lived back here. She
Bowling?
was a teacher.
Miss Bowling?
Miss Bowling.
Yeah.
Everybody remembers Miss Bowling.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what Mar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really had her. I don't think. I had Mr. and Mrs. Tonnell. Mr. Lowenstein was there too. I never had Mr. Lowenstein either. I don't remember. But the one, I would say that the one person that I remember her vividly up to now
Mm-hmm.
is Miss Laurie.
And why is that?
She was a music teacher.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
And it was something that she nobody liked her. They felt she was very strict
Yeah.
and que muy regañona.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt very close because she always talked to us about Chopin, the classical.
Right, right.
Yeah. And she made us, she tried to instill that on us. Now,
Mm-hmm.
at the time, probably I was just listening to them, but I did get some of it,
Yeah.
some of their history, because she would talk about some of the history behind, in back of, that these classical
Right.
people had behind them when they were growing up. And that kind of instilled me, And then she would put on plays,
Okay.
and I sometimes was selected as an actress, I guess.
Where would
I
you
didn't do
perform
very
them?
much. They're at the auditorium and here in this school.
Okay.
And I didn't get elected for singing. I remember one time she had selected me for singing something. So I went up there, and I guess I didn't really impress her. The next day I was down in the bottom
Yeah.
accompanying her. You'd be part of the chorus.
Still be part of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other place, one time I was a teacher. I did finish the role there. But she presented us with these other things that was not known to us. And some of the guys, or some of the students, girl students or guy students especially, didn't really care. And then she policed the hallways all the time.
Yeah.
Seems like lunchtime was her duty. And students would just want to go into the bathroom and do their thing, and she'd run us out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was included with a whole bunch. She ran us out.
Yeah. What grade was this, by the way?
Well, it was through school.
Yeah.
I mean, it was through school. I mean, social studies.
Okay.
Whenever fourth grade, third grade, fourth
Okay.
grade. Yeah. And then she also put us to dance. She taught us how to do the minuet, which is really something
Yeah.
very, very not known here.
Yeah, or simple.
And then she had the guys ask the girls out to dance. She taught them how to gentlemanly go ask a girl out to dance.
Yeah.
And how a girl should accept, and how it was just,
She cared.
she cared.
Yeah.
She cared for us.
Yeah. As kids, maybe you didn't see it like
Uh-huh.
that, but yeah. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful memory to have, yeah.
That's what I remember
Yeah.
about her, and I still do. And I wrote it in my memoirs also for my kids
Yeah.
to remember.
To have.
Hmm
So outside of school, what did you do for fun? Obviously, you
Well, at
helped
what age? At what age?
as a kid. Well,
As a
as you grew
kid,
up.
we would get together with the neighbors, and we played softball,
Mm.
baseball.
Right here in the field.
We lived behind the church, not behind the church, a couple of blocks down.
Okay.
And the house across the street from us had a big family there that they had like 6 or 7 kids and different age groups, you know.
Right.
So there was let's say there were players that would be our age, and then there were smaller players that would be my brothers and sisters'
Yeah.
age. So we usually just played with them together, and then the neighbors down the street, further down, would come over and play as well, or you know. But it would play that baseball a lot.
That was like your. Fun.
And then one time there was a horse that my dad brought one time from somewhere, and we were all riding it. Took our turns in riding, and my sister got up. And when the horse galloped, she kept slipping back, and she fell. Anyway, that was funny, and she doesn't remember. She doesn't forget that.
Oh.
As far as birthdays, well, my mother would try and bake something special, her favorite bread type, and she would make it into a cake. But it was a bread recipe, which I
Oh, and she made it
still
cakey.
remember, but she made it into a cake, and she put frosting on it. It wasn't very luxurious, but that was okay. And then she would put candles on it.
Yeah.
And then we would have a piñata.
And
But
this
the
is
piñata was not really anything elaborate, like there is. I don't know, they have these characters, you know.
Yeah.
It was just a paper bag
Okay.
filled with, I don't know, if we had candy, there would be candy.
Right.
But maybe beans, you know, just to weigh it down.
I love that. Yeah.
And the sport was to hit it.
Yeah. That was the fun part.
That was a fun part.
Yeah.
And then we would hang it on the clothesline, and then we would just play with it, going back and forth. But it was just the kids, not any adult
Right.
getting
Right.
into it. It's just the kids.
It was for you guys.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And then other times I get together with my cousins on my mother's side of the family. And then we would go to have picnics. My granddad, or my panane, as I called him, he had land way close to the river, and it was very shady, and there were fruit trees around, one or two pecan trees there that I remember, but very shady. And he had one, this was a little bit older than I was like 15, 16, maybe. And by that time, irrigation water had kind of scarce down to the crops. So the farmers were installing pumps, electrical pumps. I don't know how they were run, but they were pumps that would pump the water out from the
river.
underground into the little small canal, and then it would disperse to the crop. But in that little area, the water was cool and clean.
Yeah.
It's what we saw.
Yeah.
And it was just, we would just jump in it.
On summer days. Yeah.
On summer days.
How refreshing. And like just under the trees.
Under the trees, and then we would, the picnic,
Yeah.
and then we would go hiking around the fruit trees so we could pick up the fruit.
And bring it back. Yeah.
And then my grandma would they said enfrascado. She would can it. And at that time, depends on the time of the year it was, but I remember that she had a lot of quince. Quince is a membrillo. And I remember going to visit her several times on Sundays, and she would always ask us if we wanted some quince.
Quince.
She would go into that little hallway closet that she had, a full closet filled with all the fruit that she had canned.
Aw, that was hot. Okay.
So it was very, very appetizing, of course, and we always liked it, and of course we said yes all the time. But she also baked some wonderful tortillas.
Really? Corn, flour?
Flour.
Okay, yeah.
I was raised on flour.
Yeah.
That's the difference between having the influence of Mexico
In
against
Texas.
the Texan or this side of the border. Because there was flour around here all the time.
Oh.
There was a mill,
Oh, okay, okay.
so we always had flour.
And that's how she made her tortillas.
Mhm.
Yeah. So growing up, you also went and visited your grandma. You like
Every Sunday we'd go to grandma, and
Okay.
all my cousins would be there, and over at my mom's.
Right.
My grandma lived on Caballero Road.
Okay.
Is it Caballero now? What is it? Yeah, it's Caballero.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
In the back house there. And around there they had pecan trees.
Did she make anything with the pecans, like pie?
No.
anything?
Mm-mm. My grandma, well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay, but she suffered a lot from her feet. She had like some kind of arthritis that her toes just kind of crumbled up.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
she couldn't do very. She always had workers helping her, like little Indian.
Oh wow.
Like they looked Native American.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you grew up with.
I
them.
grew up with that. That
Mm-hmm.
who was so and so and who was so and so, and we thought we were all related. You know.
Yeah. As kids.
And
Yeah.
No, they just took her in.
Yeah. And she helped in around the
Uh-huh.
house. It's interesting. Yeah. That means that they've also been around in the area too. Yeah.
And my grandma was a sister to Ben Sanchez mother.
I don't know. Uh-huh.
I don't know. You haven't interviewed him? This is my grandmother from my dad's side.
Oh wow. She looks pretty tall.
Yes. This is my grandmother from my mother's side. This is a better picture. That's from my mother's side, my grandma and my grandpa. But yeah, she had and she's a sister to Benji's mom,
Okay.
and she's a sister to. Her pictures were here. They were here.
There's more pictures back there. I don't know.
It's three sisters. Oh, a neighbor, Josefa. And there's three pictures there.
Okay.
So maybe they're behind all that. Yeah. Anyway. So then, see, he was pretty well off in those days, I guess. He had a car.
Yeah.
But before that, he had another
Car.
vehicle.
Oh wow.
carreta. That was
Wow, with horses?
a horse-drawn carreta.
And why were they well off? Good farmers?
The farmer,
Yeah. That was a good
The
job
farm.
here in the area.
when farming paid off.
So it was just kind of generational
Mhm.
after.
Well, they were. I not say well off. I mean, they were doing.
Yeah, they weren't
he
poor.
could afford a car
Yeah. A carreta.
and a carreta.
Yeah.
And this is my grandpa
Okay.
from my father's side.
What was his name?
From
He's
my father's
tall.
side.
Right. What was his name?
Yeah, Eduardo,
Eduardo.
and he was Tomas.
Tomas.
Reyes, and then Eduardo Maese. And then this is his family.
I like the little curls they all have.
Yes, the little
Yeah.
This is my grandpa. That one. He came out in the newspaper, but yeah, with these dignitaries, politicals, and in those days.
Wow. Can you see? What year was this? 1962?
He died shortly after that, I think. 1968.
What was his name? Eduardo
Maese.
Maese. Oh yeah, he was 85 in this picture. Wow.
And I made copies of it because I knew this was not going to survive
Yeah.
the way it was being kept for a long time
Yeah.
until I got my hands on it. I made copies. So it's there in my paperwork.
Did your other siblings also save images, or were you the one that were like?
No, my mother was the one that was saving them, and I inherited all this when she passed away.
Yeah. Well, you're taking.
So this was in 19. Well, this was given to her in 1995 by her sister. This was her sister's, but she passed away. So she gave it to my mother. My mother had this. I don't know when this one is. I'm sure there's another one there somewhere.
Yeah.
And these are pictures that this girl made me, but they're not very good. In front, somebody standing in front of the church, like.
Right here.
And then right here, four ladies are sitting on the grass with the church as a backdrop. Oh, here, I made a copy of this. And this is my grandfather with his
kids.
two of the girls, and this is a nephew,
Okay.
George.
I love the jeans.
The boy jeans.
Yeah. It was something different.
I think there were boy jeans that the girls wore.
Okay, yeah. They look good.
Because they were working on the farm. They were working,
Right.
you know. So
So were your siblings working in the farm? Did they work in the farm?
my brothers did.
Right.
Well, we did too. We would go out and if we wanted to earn extra money, we would go out and pick cotton.
But for your father or for other people?
For my father.
Oh, okay. Then he would pay you. Yeah.
Yeah, we would help him out. It was hard labor, I guess, but a lot of times I would also be busy with helping my mom out a lot because I was the oldest. Or she would have me driving. Well, that's another story though. When I learned to drive. When I learned to drive, you know, we had we just had one truck. There was a farm truck, and my dad used it all the time. There was a Chevrolet. What year? 53 maybe, 53. And it was a cambio saca, you know. And we learned to drive. I learned to my mom, because in her married life she was expecting her babies, but she wouldn't tell anybody.
Okay.
She would just hold it as a secret, and she would just work or plan around that baby when it was going to be born.
Got it.
So she didn't ask me, she kind of told me, I guess. And you didn't question it at the time. You didn't question your mom's wishes or your parents' wishes. And she said, I think it's time that I teach you to drive. And then we're going to get in. And I got it all figured out. When Antonio, my dad, will not use the truck, we'll go to the cotton gin and we'll practice over there. The cotton gin was a little bit further down. And a cotton gin, there was a lot of room there because this is where they put the cotton trailers in, they parked them. There was always a lot of room. And we go practice there.
How old were you?
14.
Okay.
14. I think they gave you the permit to drive at 16. Well, so she took me there every chance we got. She took me there. I don't know how long it took, but it wasn't like I did it all the time, or I didn't get in a vehicle to drive to practice. No, unless she would be able to guide me.
Right.
Which was after dinner, we would go.
Yeah.
Or when my dad would not be using the truck at all. So, anyway, so I did go, and she, at least for a year, and then all of a sudden she says, oh, by the way, I got this book for you that I think it'd be wise for you to study. Okay, so there it is. Texas driver's license application, or to study with. Big bright yellow letters or black letters. I'm sure it's still the same color, right? Is it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it looked very official. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll study it. And I studied it now and then. And then one day she said, okay, let's go practice again. Parking and all that. And so I just followed her. I just did. And then she said, one day she said, I think we're going to go, John, and take your driver's license test to see if you can drive.
Okay.
That's when I got scared. Ooh, you sure you think I'm ready? No, I think you are. But I did. I went, and I was so nervous. Some policeman sitting right next to me. I didn't pass. I didn't pass a parking. So that meant I disappointed my mom. I said, oh, I didn't pass. Okay, well, we'll just practice some more.
Yeah.
So we practiced some more, and
Parking.
and the next time I passed,
Yeah. You were 14.
So I was well at that when I first started.
Okay.
So by the time I got to, I was close to 16.
Yeah.
Because I was delivering milk. I was the milk delivery person for Sanelli at that time. this cow was giving a lot of milk, and my mother didn't know what to do with it because I mean it was like she couldn't really keep up with all the milk production.
Yeah.
Maybe there were 2 cows, I don't know. But she said, "Well, I'm compiling a list." She didn't say she was doing what she was doing, and she would just tell me, "You're gonna go early in the morning, and you're gonna take this milk to Chela, some of her friends,
Yeah.
and then from there you're gonna go to the Gandaras, the Señora Gandara."
Did you graduate high school?
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you get married right after that?
Yes,
Yeah. Here in
Yeah.
San Eli?
I got married in San Eli. Yes, yes, I'm.
In the church?
I got married in the church, but not with a full ceremony. It was just a church service.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those girls that ran out. That I guess I disappointed my parents that way. That I didn't really wait to have a full service. They weren't ready for me to get married.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was like 18,
Yeah.
fresh out of high school. And it was disappointing for them. But I got married. And then I had, after a year or so, my daughter was born, Becky, my oldest. And she was a little, gordita, muchachita. Now she's 50-some years old,
Wow.
almost 55.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I had 4 children really, but the 4th one, my second born died
Oh, I'm sorry.
of, he was like 4 years old,
Mm.
and it was an epidemic of measles,
Mm.
and there wasn't an injection. The injection had started to come out barely,
Mhm.
but he hadn't had it yet. And he got that sleeping sickness.
Mhm.
He never woke up.
Mm. Sorry.
Yeah, that was very hard.
That was here in San Eli also?
Well, I was living in Clint because I
Oh,
married
okay.
a teenage boy from Clint,
Mm.
and well, anyway. But then I had Rose. Rose, by then, Rose was already born when my son died. She had barely been born.
Mhm.
And then I had Grace afterwards. She's the youngest one. So I have 3 girls.
Mm.
And they have 3, Becky has 3 kids. Rose doesn't have any. And Gracie has 2 boys.
Mm. So you have 5 grandkids?
So I have 3 Becky had 3 girls.
Right.
And Gracie had 2
2 boys.
boys, and Rose doesn't have any. So I have 5.
Do you have any
grandkids.
great grandkids?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Becky's oldest
Mm-hmm.
got married, and she has 2 kids.
Oh, wow. So you're a great grandma too.
Mm.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. And they're doing very well in school. I told Naomi is her name, the mother, my great grandkids' mother, and she kept saying, "Well, she finished college, right?" She says, "Now can I get married?" He says, "Yes, if you must, you get married."
Yeah.
The boyfriend was there with her. He was always
Yeah.
nice to her and all. But anyway, they got married with a full ceremony there.
Mm.
From a different church.
Mm.
And but that's to be expected. Yeah,
Things change, yeah.
change. Yeah. So now she has two kids, and they're in high school.
Oh, wow.
One is they're going to Chapin. They live over there. So
Okay. Any memorable people of San Eli?
oh, there's always memorable people. Mr. Alarcon,
Oh yeah. Why was he memorable?
he was the principal of the school. His walk, his mannerism, his when you went to church at the time, when you went to church, when I was a young girl, seats were assigned.
Hmm. Like for family?
And I don't know if it meant that you were the one that did the most donations or what.
Yeah.
But now that we think about it, well, maybe that was discriminatory. I don't know, but that's something else. That's the Catholic religion.
Yeah.
But anyway, seats were assigned. And his was always the very first on the aisle. So we knew when he came, if you were in church, if Mr. Alarcon came by, or Barbara, his daughter, and his wife. Barbara, his daughter, was around the age of my sister, my next sister that was born, my second born sibling. So they got along real good in school. But that meant, you were in time for church.
Right.
Because he was a big guy. The way he walked, like. A lot of the children's, like Mr. Alarcon's children, belong to the genealogy society as a member, even though they're out of town. There's people all over the United States spread out, because we've had all spread out. Since you've been here, I'm sure you.
Yeah, I think I spoke with Miss Zambrano.
Yeah.
She lives in New York City.
Yeah, she's in New York City.
Yeah.
Her mother, Zambrano, was Josefa Zambrano. He was my mother's dearest friend. She would always pick her up. My mother was a driver, and the person with a car. So she would always pick up these people to take them to church, or to take them to vote, or to take them where they needed to go, if they called her. So she had like 3 or 4 people that she took to church or funerals, or go see a sick person, or
Right. Yeah.
And my mother would always say to me when I was a young girl to look up as my mentor, to follow Chole's way of being, or Chole's way of behaving, or Chole's schooling, that kind of thing. Or this other lady, she married a cousin of mine. And I always remember that when I see Chole, or when somebody mentions her name, I always remember my mother's.
Yeah, advice. Yeah. Is Chole Josefina? Is that her short
Soledad.
name? Soledad. Okay.
Soledad Zambrano. Well, when I was volunteering here, see, the way I got involved with the genealogy was that my mother was part of the group. She really didn't participate very much, because she felt like my dad needed her. And even though husbands can be very lenient or very flexible, let's say, my mother felt a responsibility that she had to be there to feed him, and to be in case she needed him.
Right.
Or he needed her. And so she didn't really want to participate too much.
Right.
She helped, like the same with the church. She helped with the fiestas. She did, just bring me the lettuce, bring me the cheese, and I'll grate it for you, and I'll,
Yeah.
and I'll take it to you.
Right.
That's the way she participated. But my dad would my dad would participate. He would come and help put up the the stands, you know, where they had the food and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Los puestos que le decimos.
Sí, sí.
And he would help the main guy, the captain of the
Like the events.
yes. And then for the same thing with the genealogy, my mother would help out. She would buy the tickets of some kind and just give him the money and here's the ticket.
Like I helped. Yeah.
And or she would go to luncheons, and she would invite other people with her, you know, and I would go with her, and that's how I got involved with her, going to the luncheons.
What would you do at the luncheons?
I just sat with her and I spoke to people.
Yeah.
I spoke to people.
Convivir.
Yeah.
Sí.
Yeah.
Sí, sí, sí.
Oh, it's so good that you're here, that you brought your daughter, and then they were just all, and we started talking, and you know.
Yeah. And
So that's how I got involved.
and you kept
And I kept
involved.
being a volunteer. I kept being a volunteer. And then one time, not too long ago, while Transito was still alive, I was working. I had come back from a trip. My younger daughter, Gracie, is in Germany
Oh wow.
because her husband was in the military, and he was stationed in Germany, going to Afghanistan and all that. And
Right.
she was over there in Germany, and she said, "Mother, why don't you come over?" And anyway, I did, and I was there like for 6 weeks, and I had just come back, and I said, "Well, I gotta do something." You know, I had already retired
Yeah.
from here.
Okay. From the genealogy?
No, I had retired from my job
Okay.
that I was at, and I said, "Well, okay. How do I go?" He said, "I'll tell you. Don't worry about it. I'll get you fixed up."
Yeah.
Okay. So I went to 6 weeks. I came back and I said, "Well, okay. Just got back from Germany." And I says, "Well, what do I do now?" So I was down at SEGHS, down on Lake Trevino, because I lived in that area. And they were hiring people. I said, "Look, what do you need people for?" They go, "Well, I need a salesperson." "Oh, okay, I'm a salesperson."
Yeah.
"Can I apply?" I said, "Sure." So she brought me out an application. Well, I got hired. And there I am selling shoes, and all of a sudden I see Transito come down to the store. And
What a coincidence.
and she said, "You know what?" She knew me. She knew me that I'd volunteered. She knew my mother. She said, "You know what? Why don't you come and apply over at the genealogy?" "Why? Why do you want me to apply?" "Well, we need a director."
Oh wow.
You might qualify, dijo, because you have to go interview with the board.
Yeah.
And you go, "Well, what's the matter with your director? Don't you have a director?" "But yeah, Frankie Soto." "Yeah, but I don't know. He took off, and we don't know where he's at." Says, "Why don't you call him about just to see if we need somebody?" Well, I thought about it. After a while, I said, "Okay." I came to apply. And then they called me for an interview, because I guess he never showed up. And I got hired.
As a director. Wow.
Well, I had college, and I had travel experience, and I had
Yeah.
experience with her, and they knew me, you know. So they go, "What do I have to do?" "Well, you have to do what the board says. You have to follow the..."
Yeah.
Paso Tránsito, and I saw who the board consisted of and all. And so, anyway, I said, okay, I'll give it a try. I was here 7 years.
Wow.
7 years. Yeah. Oh, Benji was sometimes here too.
Mm-hmm.
Benji was here when I would come and volunteer.
Who's Benji?
Benji Sanchez.
Oh, okay.
You don't know him?
Mm-mm.
And that's one of the things I also wrote about.
Yeah.
The times we spent dancing at the salon where
Uh-huh.
he has a dance hall.
Oh, wow.
Well, the Presidio Dance Hall.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, his daughter owns it now, but he had it before.
It was his, yeah.
Since he was he would bring in musicians.
Oh, wow. Like local or just
Well, local.
from everywhere?
From local.
Yeah.
And then he had the disco, the music that he already recorded on that tape,
Ah,
the long
sí,
tape.
sí.
Chord, 1960 music, great music.
Great time.
Yeah. And so I wrote about it. I wrote my times there
At the baile.
and the bailes. the guys, how they all stood at the door and waited
To ask a girl.
to ask the girl after they forgot Miss Laurie's manners.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so fun.
And so I had to get Benji and tell him, what other musicians did you? So I had to make contact with him.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, why don't you remember that we had? Dijo, why don't I remember the music and I remember, but I don't remember who the musicians were.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's my stories and all that. So
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to say about growing up in San Eli that I may have missed? Some other memories that you have?
The memories. Oh well. This is not it. Oh, this is it. This, you have this here, right?
Maybe, yeah. I think the museum has it.
I think it's, well, I don't mind that my mother had it in her stuff, and 31% Native American.
Oh, your DNA from Ancestry. Okay, yeah. Native American from Chihuahua, Durango, and Zacatecas.
Mm-hmm.
Those are Mexican states. New Mexico, Southern California, and yeah, Mexico and South Texas. Yeah, so there's a lot of indigenous people from Mexico and from here that's in your lineage. Yeah. Oh.
So, but I got the story on the horse Chapo with my grandpa.
Oh,
Got the story of the Maeses and the Teyes.
Hmm.
I got the story on Los Reatas. Why we were called Los Reatas.
Oh.
That's something else.
Yeah.
Los Reatas, we were called Los Reatas because my dad, as a young man, I understand, according to my mom, he was very good at playing handball.
Hmm.
And they called him La Reata, like a whip.
Oh.
Because a handball is played with a hand and a hard ball.
Right.
So his hands were always, they were very big.
Yeah.
And so he was good at it. So when we were being born, oh, el reata era reatita, or
Mm-hmm.
So I was known as la reatita.
Yeah, because you were the
I'm
firstborn.
the firstborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I told about that story. Then I told the story about the farmers market.
Mm.
When the crop yielded for the summer or in the fall, I don't know, it depends on what yielded it would be corn, chili, tomatoes. That's normally what he farmed.
Mm-hmm.
melons, watermelons. He would set up the back of the 53 Chevy, and he would put me up there to sell
With all the produce. Yeah.
for the day, for that Saturday.
Okay.
It would sell out,
Great.
so there was a farmer's market.
Yeah.
So that's what I understood it as being the farmer's market. So, and then the day when the driver's license
Yeah.
thing. And oh yes, the Tonet way. The Tonet way. My mom missed her calling. I think she should have been a beautician.
Okay. What did she do?
She would always be making us permanents because she felt we had very straight hair, and she wanted it curly, so she wouldn't have to mess with it. So it would just curl up. And my dad would just get angry with her and say, well, you know, that's the way her hair is. And she would always be buying, well, she started us young with a Tonet, which was for young girls. And then we graduated to the Tony. But my sister and I would always be laughing about that, how we would always show up at the school picture taking day with our blisters, because we always break out in a blister in our mouth or our lip. And we would take the picture with that blister on.
And the new hairstyle.
And our hair was already curly. And then I had walking strolls over to visit my cousins on Glorieta Street is the name, not Caballero, Glorieta.
Glorieta.
And then the dance hall, 2 pages, 1.5 pages. And then what we did about, I wrote about temporary home for my grandparents, how we housed them when they were old, and so we took care of them, or my parents would anyway, both my grandma and my grandpa, that one. They stayed at our house, and they would stay at the children's houses. My grandma would stay 30 days with us, and then she would move on to the next
child. Yeah.
She would stay 30 days with, and so on. And so did my grandpa. But my grandpa only stayed with us a certain time, and then he would stay with Eva, who was another, my dad's aunt, sister. She lived, you know where, that building that has all these cactus in front. That's where she lived.
Okay.
And that's where he stayed there. And he was right there where the action was, because there was a ball field right next door. So
That was fun.
he liked it. And then the religious instruction that we received. And then the border crossers, also when we used to go to Mexico to buy stuff, or to do our hair, or to do dry cleaning, or all that happened around here. And the colorful language also that we were exposed to. Anyway, so those are my stories.
So many.
So many,
So
and I
many to
just thought of
remember.
one that I should have mentioned. My tia Maria, she was a seamstress. She was his daughter.
Okay.
Oh, the one that took care of my dad when his mom passed away. She was a seamstress. She sewed for the affluent families in Clint.
Wow.
And she always had customers coming over and trying. She was measuring them for this or that, and then she had wedding parties.
Wow.
And she made la novia con las madrinas y todo.
The gowns y todos los vestidos.
Pero ella siempre andaba toda descosida.
Oh, that's how it is. Yeah.
And so I would stay. She had a daughter that was a little bit younger than I was. and that's how we took horse rides with my grandpa. He would take us around, all around town to do horse rides. Yeah.
Fun.
With Chapo, yeah. So we had our share of good times.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy you shared them with me and with the San Elizario Museum.
Yeah.